about the mahloket, how come that the sages have an argument? According to one opinion, using the haggadah of our friend Meish, according to one opinion, that's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. I'm going to make it short, Rabbi Yossi Aglili said that, according to him, the Egyptians received 50 plagues when they stood on the banks of Yam Suf. That means when they crossed, after Bnei Israel crossed the sea, the Egyptians received 50 plagues. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, 200 makot, 200. It's straight lady jump. He multiplied by 4. Then come Rabbi Akiva and said 250. Can you see that? Anyone have any idea why there is such a dispute between our sages? Why so many makot? I mean, what difference does it really make? We have to understand why Hazal. You have the haggadah in front of you? Sorry. רבי יוסי הגלילי אומר, מאין אתה אומר שלקו המצרים במצרים 10 מכות? That we know. ועל הים לקו 50. On the sea, when there was in a bank, when they crossed the sea, they received 50 plagues. Why? What difference does it make to us to know how many plagues the Egyptians received? Anyone have any idea? Sorry?
It still didn't stop them crossing the sea.
Okay, so you're making my question even stronger.
Yeah.
Every plague affected every part of the being. It wasn't just about it was every part, the physical, the spiritual, everything. So if you add that all up, it's lots of plagues.
Yeah, but according to, there is a mahloket among the three sages. One say 50, one 200, and 250.
It's the way they counted it. Hashem pointed his finger and his hand, and each finger had 5. I can't remember exactly.
Okay. But you're all right. I'm not saying, I'm not disputing that. But the point is, let's get to the point. Rabotai, we have to understand one important thing. Why there is a mahloket? Why, according to Rabbi Akiva, that he was actually what we call it a mahmir, they got 250 plagues. It's not for nothing, Rabotai, it's for us. It's for us, for every generation, to understand one important thing. הקדוש ברוך הוא said to בני ישראל, ואת כל המחלה אשר שמתי במצרים, לא אביא עליכם. Translation? Obviously. All the sickness that I brought on the Egyptian in Egypt, all of those kind of sickness, I will not bring on you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised the Jewish people. Hazal, in Ruach HaKodesh, tried to get to a higher number of sickness and plagues that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought on the Egyptians, so less of those plagues and sickness and the future to come will come on the Jewish people. Now we understand why it's a mahloket. That's what Hazal tell us, Kol HaMarbe Mosifim Lo. That Rabbi Akiva added up, Baruch Hashem, he added up so much to try to avoid less sickness, less plagues coming on the Jewish people. That's the main, one of the explanations. So now that we understand all of that, let's go through the plagues.
But still, it doesn't explain why. It doesn't explain why. I understand that there's a contrast to say that if you think that at Mitzrayim there were 10 plagues and those were severe, over here it was much worse. But we don't know why.
So I explain. All of those plagues that the Hazal adding up, according to Rabbi Akiva, that was the highest, he say 250. 200 and different sickness he brought on the Egyptian. 200 different plagues. To avoid those sickness ever coming on the Jewish people, because the Kadosh Baruch Hu promised us, Et kol ha-mahala that I brought on Egypt, I shall never bring on you. So they try to add up as much more sickness that the Jewish people will never suffer from it. You understand what I'm saying? That's the reason. The first plague that we know, it was makat דם. נכון? פשוט. הקדוש ברוך הוא started with makat דם. And oh, please God, we'll go through the makot and I'm going to try to show measure for measure. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu done it? And then, how is it reflecting the entire world? HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the first plague, makat dam. You know why? The Jewish people was in slavery for 210 years. When you're a slave, you have no money. To build up the dignity of the Jewish people, to give them money, number one. How did they make the money? By that they sold the water to the Egyptian. If Egyptian wanted water and he didn't pay, he still drank blood. And the second that he paid money, he got water. So that's number one, to build the dignity, to give him a self-confidence for the Jewish people. But still, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't do makat dam with no reason. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. Why measure for measure? Anyone have any idea? Remember blood. Sorry? The boys that been drowned in the Nile. Okay. But there never was blood.
They used to say, keep
Sorry?
Brit Milah.
Brit Milah, according to said Brit Milah. Yes?
They said that if they had leprosy, you used to use the blood of the child and bath it or something.
Oh, so you remember something from what we spoke many years ago. You make notes, but you forgot to bring them. So many years ago, not many years ago, let me tell you, 3 years ago we have a show on about the plagues, you remember? So Ivan was so enthusiastic, he brought his notebook and he wrote all the explanation, but it looked like he forgot, huh? I also forgot. If I didn't have the notes, I wouldn't remember. Ivan, don't worry, we're in the same boat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu done measure for measure. You wasn't far, Ivan, by the way. You remember, Vayamot Melech Mitzrayim. Vayakum Melech Hadash. And a new king arose. There is a mahloket among the poskim. Is Paro die or not? That was the mahloket in the Gemara. Hazal say, some people say that he died, really died. Some people say he didn't die. Rashi say, Rashi HaKadosh wrote, Nitztareya. In Sefer Shmot, Nitztareya. That means that he got leprosy. How do you solve the problem? Hazal say that there is 4 kinds of people that consider dead. A person that is ani, a person that have leprosy, a person that doesn't have kids. Those people consider as a dead person. What's the connection? The Midrash tells us that the witchcrafting that was in Egypt was beyond us. The Hartumim, the advisors, the wizard that Paro have, suggested to him every morning to slaughter 150 babies, and in the evening 150 babies, and with their blood to have a bath. Can you imagine that sickness? And that will help to cure the leprosy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you took my little babies and you have a bath with them? Not only you, not only your advisor, the entire Egypt for 7 days will suffer from blood. Everything that you have, I'm going to put on blood. Not only that, we know that the Nile consider one of their god, except the lamb. You remember they was worshipping the lamb and the Nile. They call it God. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, you call your Nile a god, I'm going to shecht it. And I'm going to turn it to full of blood. That means to conquer to conquer the belief from the Egyptian. The Jewish people, after all, lived there for 210 years. After 210 years, you do adopt the society, the idea of the country. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to conquer that. More than that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tried to show the world, not try, did show the entire world that he's in control of all the liquid in the world. Which other God can control liquid? No other God. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts with liquid. The second makkah was makat tzfardea, frogs. נכון? Why dafka frogs? Measure for measure, remember, measure for measure. HaKadosh Baruch Hu here punished the Egyptian, measure for measure. What did the Egyptian done to the Jewish people? Turn them to slave. If you turn the Jewish people to slave, the Egyptian think that if they're in control of the Jewish people as slave, they can wake him up any time of the night. If the Egyptian fill up to drink a glass of water, he used to call the Jewish person, go bring me water. You feel like having a bath? Warm up for me the bath. Remember, it was no geyser. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you didn't allow my nation to sleep at night. You're not going to sleep at night. How? Listen to the voice of the frog. But the frog came to teach us another thing. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. There was 3 prophets, you remember? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah learned from him halacha. That when it's come to Kiddush Hashem, when they saw the frog in the end of the plague jumping to the fire, when it's come to them, bow down to the statue, they refuse, you remember? They've been thrown to the fire, but Nebuchadnezzar, nothing happened to them. Where did they got that courage? From the frog. Hazal tell us. Not only that, that was so far measure for measure. It's come to teach us how the frog was willing to give themselves as an animal with no brain, lehavdil. But it's come to teach the entire world. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed that he's in charge about the living inside the water. That when HaKadosh Baruch Hu command them, they came off the sea and jumped inside the entire Egyptian houses. But the frog also changed one important thing. It was a war between Egypt and Cush. Cush is Africa. Egypt have a war against a country that's called Cush, that's Africa, about land. When everyone saw where was the frog, they knew that was the boundaries of the land of Egypt. They couldn't claim anymore. Why? Because the plagues was only in Egypt. The frog was not allowed to go over the boundaries of Egypt. And that's what changed and finished the war between Egypt and Cush. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought the plagues of Tzfardea, he showed the entire world his power, that he can change everything, even a thought of a human being about boundaries. The third plague was Kinim, life. Why dafka life? Midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. Why? Bnei Israel was slave. Egypt, how many of you have been in Egypt? 2. Only 2. Baruch Hashem. Not many of you. Baruch Hashem. Egypt all year around is hot. Nachon? Easy? Hot, warm. never cold. They never feel cold there. 210 years in slavery, you sweat. Sweat bring dirt. Dirt bring lice. The Egyptian would not allow the Jewish people to have a shower until they have lice. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, I send my kids to the diaspora. I didn't send them to get lice. You put lice on my kids, I'll teach you lice. He sent them the lice. The only difference is that the lice was all over the land of Egypt. By Makat Kinim, the slavery stopped. No more slavery for the Jewish people. Not only that, here the wizard, the Hartumim of Egypt cannot create Kinim. All the first two plagues they can do. Makat Kinim they cannot create. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu come to show the entire world that no magician, no wizard, no Hartumim, no one can do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed that he is in charge in animal that less than the size of a grain. And Hazal tell us that animal less than the size of a grain, wizard can't do any of those magic with them. So here HaKadosh Baruch Hu again come to show the Jewish people that all the faults that the Egyptian have with the witchcrafting is absolutely Buba Maisis. The fourth plague was Makat Arov. Arov, HaKadosh Baruch Hu done again, Midah keneged Midah. Why did he brought Makat Arov? The Egyptian used to send the Jewish people to hunt for them. Animal, wild animal, to put them in a circus, to put them in a zoo. One of the game it was to leave the Jewish person to fight against a lion. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, you turn my kids to become hunters? I'll send those wild animals to you. Let's see how you're going to hunt them. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed that he's in control of the wild animal. The fifth plague, Makat Dever. The time is running, so I'm not gonna get into depths with it. We're gonna move on. Here, Makat Dever. What it mean, Makat Dever? Huh? Sorry, I can't hear. Pestilence. What is Dever? Okay, we'll explain what is Dever. First of all, measure for measure, why it was Dever. HaKadosh Baruch Hu paid the Egyptian measure for measure. They used to send the Jewish people, the male, to look after their herd. But they used to send them far away from home. You know why? Because they didn't want the Jewish people to multiply. So they tried to separate the husband from the wife. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, you turn my kids suddenly to become animals keeper? No problem. I'll send that plague on you. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu show that he's in charge about the Makat Dever, that he can control everything. What it mean control? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu show that only that Makah hit only where? Only in Egypt. And only the animal of the Egyptian die. No other animal. The sixth Makkah, Makat Shhin. That's boils, נכון? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again, measure for measure, showed that first of all that he's in control of all the sickness in the world. But he done measure for measure. And why is that? What is Makat Shhin have to do? Makat Shhin is when people actually get very itchy. Eov have a bit of a Shhin. not a bit. He suffered from Shein, lo aleinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished the Egyptian for exactly what they done to the Jewish people. That when the Egyptian decide, at midnight, that he decide that he want to have a hot bath, he used to make the Jewish people standing up, preparing baths for him. That means going to the Nile, drawing water, warming up those water. Remember, there's no geyser, to light a fire, to make a bath, to stand behind the Egyptian, to rub his back. Can you imagine that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, measure for measure. Say, you wanted to turn my kids to become a balanim? I'll teach you what's going to be. Let you feel a bit of that. After Shein come Makat Barad, nachon? Barad is hail. But you know what was special about this hail?
Fire and water.
Fire and water. That's against nature, nachon? You agree with me?
Yes, sir.
We have the scientists here because we need his permission. HaKadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle that he put water and fire together. That was Makat Barad. Why dafka Makat Barad? HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, you turn my children to become keepers, to look after your vineyard, after your orchard. I'm going to destroy what you wanted to keep. Whatever you wanted to grow up and to make sure that people not going to steal from you, that you turn my kids to become security guard to your vineyard, your orchard, I'm going to destroy. And here come Makat Barad. But here HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows his control. In liquid, in fire together. What no other God can do that. Then come Makat Arbe. Arbe, that's the locust. By the way, we explained that the locust, there is certain locusts, if you turn them on their stomach, you can see the letter Het. You remember?
Yeah.
Het, Mishon Hail. Hail, it means army. That was one of the army of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The locust is one of the army of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, dan midah keneged midah. They wanted Bnei Israel to harvest, to plant for them. You turn my children to become your farmers, I will destroy that. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu show measure for measure. That you turn my kids to farmers, I will destroy what you wanted to keep. Not only that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu show that he's in control and everything that's flying. After that come Makat Hoshech, darkness. Why darkness? Why Dafka darkness? There's many explanations. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Makat darkness? But measure for measure, Hazal explained in a Midrash that when the Egyptian used to sit and having his dinner, he used to take the Jewish person and turn him to a candlestick. You're laughing. A candlestick. He used to put the candle on top of his head. Did you feel the wax sometime falling on your hand, this unpleasant feeling? Imagine that wax in the olden days when they have the old candles, burning them. And if the Jewish person used to move, they used to chop his head, like ISIS. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, I'll turn you back to darkness. Midah keneged midah. But not only that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu show here that he's in control the entire meorot, that means day and night. HaKadosh Baruch Hu in control of the light, the darkness. The last Makat Bechorot. נכון? What does it mean makat bechorot? The firstborn. Why that dafka makat bechorot? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu punish them with the firstborn? They used to throw the babies to the Nile, nachon? HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, you thrown my children to the Nile? I'll teach you. I'll take your all firstborn and I'll kill them. Midah keneged midah. But here HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed the entire world that he knows who's the firstborn in the house, who's the older boy in the house. Number one. Not only that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu exposed the immorality that was in Egypt. ותהי צעקה גדולה בארץ מצרים. What it means צעקה גדולה בארץ מצרים? Chazal asked that the men used to beat their wives. Suddenly they realized in one house there is more than one person dying. How can it be that he was the firstborn from another man or from another wife? HaKadosh Baruch Hu here showed how low was the Egyptian morally. Not only that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed that he knows exactly what's happening with every human being. How many countries can say that they know exactly how many people living in a country? Not who's the firstborn, how many people there is in a country. Take South Africa, they know how many people living here?
No.
Sorry?
Plus or minus 100% wrong.
So I tell you what, you're laughing about South Africa. Let's take America. Them they also don't know. They're supposed to be first world country. I promise you Obama doesn't know where he come from. Obama himself. So I want to tell you one thing. That when we read the haggadah, and please God, we're soon going to sit on Friday night with our family. When you share the makot, we have to explain to those people that's sitting with us on a table, to our family, to our kids, why do we do that every year? Did you ask yourself, why is it so important for us to repeat it every year? And I'm going to come here to something that we have to give it a thought. You know, today, there is people that call themselves Makhishei Shoah. That means that they don't believe in the Holocaust. Did you hear about it, Easy? Sure. If we want to keep our heritage, we have to make sure that our kids, our grandchildren, and our grandchildren will keep celebrating Pesach. That no one will ever say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't redeem us from Egypt. That's not going to become that people will say the Shoah, the Holocaust never exists. That's number one. Number two, and I'm going to link it now to what I said at the beginning, we have to celebrate it to show from generation to generation that we never forgive the Torah. And the Torah tells us, Chazal tell us, that if the grandfather was Talmid Chacham, and the son learned Torah, and the grandson learned Torah, 3 generations, לא ימוש ספר התורה הזה מפיך, ומפי זרעך, ומפי זרע זרעך. That means from you, from your children, and from your grandchildren. And here we see a perfect example, that the grandson of הרב זרח בן דוד הלוי, נכון? נשמתו תהיה צרורה בצור החיים, doing a סיום in his memory. What more can you ask better than that? There is no unique than that. Ariel, Shirkoah, I'm jealous. Shirkoah, really. Menachem, you should be proud. I'm sure your dad should be mamlitz tov in heaven to you, to your family, to entire all Am Israel. We should be redeemed soonly, speedily in our days. Amen, Ken Yeh Ratzon.